Now, when we think of innovation, we often think scrappy startups, Silicon Valley, and private ambition. But China plays a different game. Instead of waiting to see who wins this race, they pick the winner before the race even begins. And in the world of electric vehicles, that winner was BYD. But why BYD? Why not let the free market decide? Because China knew something most governments refuse to admit. Some industries are too important to leave to chance or to leave to the West. This is a story of why China chose to finance, support, and scale BYD into a global giant. Because if someone was going to lead the EV revolution, it better be someone that they can work with. So let's start with the big picture. China imports millions of barrels of oil every day. It's the largest car market in the world and one of the most polluted. So EVs, they aren't just a trend, they're a national priority. Reduce dependence on foreign oil, cut emissions, dominate a future global export market, and build new domestic industries and jobs. But more importantly, own the supply chain. Batteries, motors, software, rare earths. So instead of waiting for Tesla to take over, China made a decision. We need a domestic champion, and if we don't have one, we'll build one. So why BYD? Because they were already close to the goal. They weren't a new startup, they weren't foreign, they started in batteries, and they were already building cars. And most importantly, they were Chinese. The government asked, if someone's going to dominate the EV industry, shouldn't it be someone we can influence? So instead of letting a Western firm or even a wild, untethered domestic competitor take the lead, China said, let's double down on BYD, because if we back them now, we can shape what comes next. This was the devil you know strategy. Back someone close, back someone you can guide, finance, and incentivize, because if not them, then who? And here's what China didn't do. They didn't take control of BYD. They didn't nationalize it or shove bureaucrats onto the board. Instead, they gave it something even more powerful. Support. Subsidies. More than $3.7 billion over 5 years. Tax breaks. Preferential procurement deals. Cheap financing from state-owned banks. Local governments' mandates to electrify taxis, buses with BYD vehicles. This wasn't about ownership. It was about strategic alignment. Let BYD stay private, but help them win. Because if BYD wins, then China wins. And if we're being honest, the strategy worked. It worked almost too well. Because BYD is now the largest EV maker in the world. Yes, they're bigger than Tesla, building electric buses for London, Los Angeles, Bangkok, and Santiago. Setting up factories in Hungary, Brazil, and Southeast Asia, supplying batteries and solar grids across the global south. China didn't just help BYD win the Chinese market, they helped BYD become an infrastructure player worldwide, and that gives China something even more valuable than exports. Leverage. If your city runs on BYD buses, if your grid uses BYD storage, if your economy depends on their vehicles, then China isn't just a trade partner, they're now part of your infrastructure. And here's the key insight. China doesn't fear the market, they just don't trust it to protect national interests. They knew EVs were too important to let Western companies dominate. Too central to future energy, transportation, and technological power. So they backed a company that was already strong, already aligned, and would accept support without ceding control. In other words, better to feed the wolf you raised rather than let a stranger run the farm. This isn't industrial policy, not capitalism v communism, but capitalism with a plan. And BYD didn't become the world's biggest EV leader by accident. They became the leader because China wanted a leader and made one. They didn't pick them out of loyalty or nationalism, they picked them because it was the smartest bet. Because in a future shaped by batteries, software and clean mobility, someone will build the system the world runs on. And for China, that system needed to be scalable, reliable, and most of all, in reach. So they chose BYD, the devil they knew. And the rest of us, or we're already sitting in the back seat.